Today, everybody, we got another fun video going on here. We're talking about Cobra Kai.
Of course.
Well, this is our Cobra Kai reaction video. I find if you say reaction afterward, it does better for the algorithm.
Is that right?
On YouTube, and God knows we need help in the algorithm. So, Cobra Kai reaction video. By the way, Cobra Kai Season 5 trailer. I'm going to just crowbar in all the keywords.
I guess you are.
Hey, Cobra Kai Season 4 reaction.
This feels so natural.
Yeah, very unnatural. Anyway, I'll stop fucking around.
Thank you.
Guys, I want to talk about this very important piece of Karate Kid and Cobra Kai lore. Mr. Miyagi had this technique, which the technique doesn't really have a name, right?
Not that we know
This thing
of.
that he had chosen taught Daniel.
Yeah.
I just call it let's call it the murderous technique.
The cord of blood technique.
Cord of blood? Okay. So let's just to give it a name, this technique, Mr. Miyagi never taught Daniel, but then Chosen comes along in Season 3 and is like, oh, I'll show you, no problem. So I kind of want to get into, like, I thought we might get some answers as to why exactly Miyagi didn't teach this to Daniel.
Mm-hmm.
But Season 3 came and went, then Season 4 came and went, and I don't think it's going to come up in Season 5. So I'm kind of at a point where
Really?
I
think it might.
Really?
Yeah.
Who would know? Who would be the one to explain why Miyagi kept it a secret? No one's going to know why Miyagi.
Well, I think that Daniel and Chosen together will be able to conclude why Miyagi didn't share certain things with Daniel, because Chosen is going to bring like new techniques to the table that were part of Miyagi-Do that Daniel never knew about. And I think that in doing that, they're going to be able to recognize that, you know, maybe Miyagi didn't think that Daniel was ready, or they were not things that Miyagi was totally on board with at that point in his life. He was more zen. He wanted peace, blah, blah, blah. Something like that.
I think there's a couple different ways to go. I think, for one, I'd be surprised if they really come back to it. Then again, I've been surprised a lot on this show.
Right.
A lot of things I thought they were going to just drop. You know, they haven't dropped. They have come back and they've given some closure to. I never thought we'd see Terry Silver. You know, I think this is a big surprise too. So there's a lot of surprises. So it would be unlike them to let this just linger in the ether forever. Without coming back and addressing it at some point. I'm just also not so sure how in the storytelling you really get to a confident point where Daniel and Chosen can deduce, like, aha, here's why Miyagi never taught me this, and now we know, and now we can move on and put a little bow on it. That seems a little weird. But anyway, I'll pontificate a little bit. I would imagine there's a couple scenarios. One is Mr. Miyagi just plain felt like, look, Daniel's not at war. Daniel's not going to be in a physical fight to the death. And then again, he already was in Chosen.
Yeah.
I guess, what am I saying? He already was in Karate Kid Part 2. But I guess I would imagine that Miyagi thinks once Daniel's back home after Karate Kid Part 2, and then they're there for many years afterwards, that there's really no reason to indicate that Daniel's ever going to need to kill somebody.
Right.
Because that's ultimately, right, the point of this move is to shut down their nerves to where they can't move, and then you can kill them. So that's my first thought, is that just there wasn't really going to be a need to use that in the real world. But my second thought is that I imagine a situation like this, okay, where Miyagi, maybe he tells Sato, maybe they have a nice conversation at some point, and Miyagi explains that, like, no, I cannot teach Daniel-san. Daniel-san, hot-headed Italian. Daniel-san, out of control. He probably knows that Daniel is such a fucking hot-headed, arrogant little prick that Daniel's just going to use it for explosive, scorched earth reasons and just use it in a time when he shouldn't, because Daniel's so out of control.
Yeah. For those times when Daniel goes very impulsive and stops thinking and lands in a bad place, you know, Miyagi knows him well enough to know that can happen with Daniel. So I could see him not wanting to share everything that he knows to give Daniel more ways to kind of destroy himself.
Yeah, think about it this way. Let's go back through the films and think. If Daniel knew this murderous technique, what incidences in the films would he have used it before? Let's think back. Would he have used it on the beach with Johnny when they first met?
Sure.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Right? Hot-headed kid, new to town.
Yeah.
Johnny's there with like 4 friends and they all know karate. So I think right there, Johnny could have died. Can you imagine Daniel uses, he didn't even know Miyagi then, but just go with me on this for a second.
Yeah.
If Miyagi had already trained Daniel and Daniel on the beach that day kills 5 Cobra Kai kids, all using this technique, Miyagi had been like, oh, palm slap. What have I done?
Would Allie have been way impressed?
I know. Allie's into hypergamy in a way. She would have kind of thought that was cool. You know, it'd be funny. I could see Allie standing over Johnny's dead body on the beach going, look what you did to my radio.
God.
Why did you damage my radio? That would have been something. So, okay,
Yeah.
so right there, you know, there's one example of why it's good that Daniel didn't learn this. Let's think of some others. If he knew that technique when he fought Chosen, see, that one wouldn't have mattered. He wouldn't have used it.
You don't think so?
No, because look, he still beat Chosen. He still got him on the ground. He still could have chopped him right into the neck.
He still honked his nose.
Yeah, he still honked his nose instead. So obviously, either way, Daniel was in a position where he could have killed Chosen, and he didn't.
Okay.
I still think he should have. I think it would have been a better ending if he just like, you know what, fuck this honking shit.
Oh my!
And just right there in front of everybody. Aunt Yukie would have been horrified. She was already crying through the whole fight. She'd have been like, Daniel's son. Mr. Miyagi had just told her what a nice guy Daniel was.
Yeah.
And how they had this great relationship.
Yeah.
And now Daniel kills right there and then.
Yes. Well, Daniel's son has a few flaws.
Yeah.
We're working on it.
By the way, at the end of Karate Kid Part 2, remember you had that idea that you were saying that Daniel should have dropped his pants at the end after he beat Chosen.
I never said that.
And dragged his balls and like kind of teabagged.
Come on. Oh,
Chosen.
come on.
Remember that? That was your idea.
Stop.
That
It
you
was
were
not.
saying.
I never. No.
Yeah,
You said that.
No,
You said that.
When would I have said such a thing?
You said that in a video.
No.
Yes, you did.
Yeah. Anyway, let's move on. All right. So Daniel did show restraint then with Chosen. I'm not so sure he would have shown it. Karate Kid Part 2 was his most spiritual movie, you know?
Yeah.
Daniel was more connected spiritually then.
Yes, he went way downhill in 3.
I think in 3, had he known this technique, I think the movie would have been over very quickly. I think Daniel would have used this with that kid at the bar.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that? The kid
Yes.
who, like, he grabbed Jessica's ass.
He did not.
I know he didn't do that, but he was like the kid that was like, she's coming home with me, loser.
Yeah.
And instead of just breaking his nose, Daniel would have chopped all his,
Oh my God.
his shit, taken him down, killed him. Terry Silver would have been like, oh my God, what is happening
Yeah, what
here?
have I created?
This is worse than anything I was going to teach
What
you.
have I unleashed?
Yeah. So that would have been fun. I think he could have killed Snake with it. I think Dennis also would have gone down when they had that first fight.
So really, we're saying that Daniel has the capacity to go on a murderous rampage if he knows these secret techniques.
Yeah, I think if Mr. Miyagi had taught Michael Myers Daniel LaRusso, how to use it, then he would have been on a murderous. I think the only one he would have spared was Chosen, ironically, the one guy who was actually trying to kill Daniel. So yeah, that's what I imagine is that Mr. Miyagi is like, I can't teach Daniel this. But again, for the reason I gave earlier also, when's Daniel really going to need it? You know, it's a little much for just having a normal life in California.
Yeah. I think also that Miyagi was at a point in his life where he knows these more lethal techniques, but he's at a point where he no longer wants to he doesn't even want to be associated with them. You know, he doesn't want to think about them. He doesn't want to engage in them. He's been to war. He's been a soldier. He carries a lot of stress and trauma from
emotional
that.
gravitas, yeah.
And he just wants now to have this peaceful life, and he wants to help Daniel protect himself and things like that, but he doesn't want things to go so far that they become lethal. So I think that emotionally and mentally, he wanted to leave that part of everything behind.
I'll give Daniel this, at least in season 4, in Cobra Kai season 4, after he knew the technique, after he had learned it, he did not use it when he beat the shit out of those hockey players for talking about slamming Amanda. He just beat them up in like a more traditional fashion.
He did.
He didn't resort to any techniques like that. So I'll give him that at least. At least there he didn't. Can you imagine if he killed a bunch of guys over just making jokes about having sex with Amanda?
Oh my God.
That would have been something. And then he goes back to finish his popcorn and watch the Oh. And then he yells at Robbie about, you've disrespected MIYAGI-DO. He's like, oh, you just killed a bunch of guys at a hockey game. I mean, come on, Daniel. Yeah, so at least he showed some restraint on that one. But I think Daniel is very hot-headed, and I think, hey, here's one. Is Anthony going to learn this move? Because you don't want to trust Anthony. Because now think about what's going on here. Then we're talking about Miyagi not teaching Daniel the move.
Right.
But then if hot-headed Anthony learns the move, Daniel's really going to be pissed.
I think there are certain things like that no sensei would want to teach until they know that their students have reached a certain maturity level, because it does take, maturity to hold yourself back and to use restraint and caution and to use things like that, judiciously. So,
yeah, because if I were a sensei, I'd teach it on day one.
That is the problem. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, and like immediately, like right off the bat, I'm just like, there's a peaceful protest. You're going to learn how to kill. You know what I mean? I wouldn't fuck around. I would make sure that they immediately know how to protect themselves in a violent, dangerous situation. So, all right, guys, well, let us know. What do you think? Why did Mr. Miyagi keep this technique, this murderous death technique, a secret from Daniel? Mm-hmm. Maybe he just didn't get to it just because there wasn't time. I mean, he only trained Daniel for something like 20 years. He had so many other moves. Maybe
he felt that at 20 years in, Daniel still didn't have the maturity to handle it.
Yeah, maybe it's best to just hold off on this shit. So let us know in the comments what you think. Also, let's just talk anything in the comments about Cobra Kai Season 5. What you want to see, what you don't want to see, blah, blah, blah. Let us know. Guys, thanks so much for supporting the channel.
Thanks. Hit the like button.
And we'll see you guys tomorrow.